Hi guys. All right. So today I'm away. That's going to make you very sad, I'm sure, because I know you love listening to me talk. But I promise I won't do it long via video. Just very quickly. Today you're going to do a lesson independently on physical properties of matter. So this relates to what we've been talking about up till now. We've talked about particle theory, the idea that particles or that matter, rather, everything that is around us is made up of little tiny particles, the smallest of which are called atoms, and that these are held together by bonds, but that they're also always moving around. And that's what we call heat. Heat is the energy of these atoms moving. And so as they move faster, we can start to break the bonds. When they're cold, they're all stuck together in place, so we end up with something we call a solid. As we heat it up, those bonds are able to partially break so these things can move around, but not fully break so they're still tucked together. We call that a liquid that can flow but still stays together. And then finally, if we get them hot enough, they can move apart as gases. And then the next day, we talked about the difference between a pure substance and a mixture. And we'll take up the homework from that tomorrow when we're together. But today, we want to talk about physical properties. We're going to talk about things we can look at in matter. So first thing I want you to do is pause this video, and for just a couple of minutes, I want you to list all of the things you can think about that are properties you could look for in an object, characteristics. So pause this video, and in this sheet, write them down, come up with some things. All right, I'll assume that you paused the video and you took a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. If you haven't already, do that. And now let's talk about it. I would have you now, if I were there, shout out some of the ideas you had. And you can do that with each other. You can talk, but I'll talk about some of the things we usually do. We can talk about the size of something, its shape, its color. If you don't have any of these, write them down. We could talk about its texture. We could talk about its taste. We're not going to taste anything in a chemistry lab, but that's certainly a thing. A smell. Sounds they produce. Temperature. Mass, how heavy it is. Sometimes people will know the term density, which is related to mass. It's how heavy something is given its size, right? So, if you have any other great ideas, tell them to each other and get them written down, because I wasn't there. So I'm assuming you've done a great job. Wonderful things. So properties are really related to things we can observe. About a substance or a material. So if I told you to observe something, you would be telling me about its properties. And so you could tell me what its size is, what its shape is, what its color is, what its texture is. If you remember, these can be qualitative, or they can be quantitative. And in fact, last week, I had you make some qualitative and quantitative observations about things in the real world, some things in our classroom and some things at home. I think that was in lesson 1.1, where we just talked about the scientific method. And that's one thing I asked you to do, was to take some observations, both qualitative and quantitative. Today, this is why this is going to be a short note, we're going to do that same thing. I thought we could do another thing. Let's pause the video here. After I give the instructions, let's pause the video here. In the space below, I want you to describe the physical properties of your favorite dessert. Don't name the dessert. Just describe as many properties as possible. For example, I could say about my favorite dessert, I'm not going to do dessert because that's what you're going to do, but I could say maybe about my favorite beverage, that it is hot, It's a liquid. It's dark brown. It has a strong smell and distinct. It tastes bitter. And probably if I did that and I gave you those descriptions, you could tell me that I'm talking about a cup of coffee, right? Which is something that I enjoy every day. I actually don't know if that is my favorite beverage. Probably I'd say I love tea more than coffee. But there we go. And there's other things we could describe as well, but that's probably enough. So I'd like you to take a minute and do the same for dessert. So pause the video, go ahead and do that. And after we've had about 3 or 4 minutes, you can press play on the video again. All right, I'll assume we're back. And what I'd maybe do is ask if 1 or 2 students could read their descriptions, read their properties to the class, and see if the class can guess what dessert they're talking about. So if someone's willing, pause the video and do that again. And we'll just see, this is to kind of help you understand the power of describing properties. So pause the video, go ahead and do that, and then come back. All right, well, I'm going to assume that went great and that you all had lots of fun and you're going, oh my goodness, science class, so much fun. So glad to be here. Truth is, I actually wish I'd been there for this because I think this is a really fun exercise. So I hope you guys bought into it and gave it a try because it's kind of neat to see if you can be descriptive about something without using the word for the thing itself and get that along. So now I'm going to give you today's task, which is today you're going to take your own note. So you're not going to listen to me talk, which is nice. And this is actually what I do when we're here anyway. So we're going to look at some scientific properties. And what I just mean by that is properties of matter that maybe you don't automatically think of. Properties of matter other than just size, shape, color, texture, taste, smell, sound, temperature, mass, density, things like that. Some other properties that we can look at. So I'm just going to give you the names for each. And actually in the version of the handout that I've made for you, the names are already there. But I'm quickly just going to give you the names of each one. And then your task for this is going to be to look up online and describe and define what those terms mean based on your own research. So go and find it, but make sure you put things in your own words. I'm not interested in you Googling something and then just writing that down word for word. I want to make sure that you understand each of these terms. So I want you to read it. By all means, Google it, look it up, but then make sure that you put things in your own words so I know that you have a good understanding. So the first property we're going to look at, which I'm showing as an example, the difference between this penny and that penny, is luster. So I want you in the space here to describe what luster means. And what word do we use to describe something like this? And what word do we use to describe something like that? So luster, what does it mean when we talk about an object's luster? Secondly, we have the term clarity, or sometimes we use the word opacity. And you're going to see on your note that I give you those two, and that I draw you specifically to the attention of we have the words opaque, translucent, and transparent. And again, don't try to keep up with me here. This is already on your note, but I want to know these definitions, what this means. Again, in your own words. Here we have flexibility versus brittleness. And I want you to define both those terms, right? And then here we have viscosity. And then the next one, we have malleability. And in the one after that, we have ductility. All right. And then finally, we have electrical conductivity. And finally, texture. And I don't want you to worry about this section here that says physical changes. We'll talk about this together tomorrow. Now again, you didn't have to copy anything down that I just said, because in the version of the note I gave you, those titles are already there. But your task is to put a definition or an explanation about what these terms mean next to each one. Google is a great resource here. You can just Google it and look up what it comes, but make sure you're getting a scientific definition. I tried to use really specific terms here so that the scientific definition should come easily. So good luck, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. And if you need any help with this, feel free to shoot me a message. It's okay to not get everything right. We're going to take it up. But I want you to make sure that you make an effort on every single question. So you're not just, not trying and leaving things blank. It's okay to get something wrong. It's not okay to not try.